Today is another installment in my series about having OSDD or DID and how this may affect employment. The question today is, do you tell your employer or not? Remember, legally, you do not have to tell your employer, but you might want to tell them. One reason you may decide to tell your employer at least some details about your condition is so that you can ask for employment accommodations. You might be able to get some accommodations without disclosing information, but it's likely you'll need to share at least some information. It's possible you might even have to share the diagnosis so that you can prove why you need the accommodations. A second reason you may decide to tell your employer is so that your employer cannot decide to fire you due to your condition. If they do not know about your disability, they cannot be held liable for discriminating against you for it. Once they know, they're obligated to offer changes that will support you in your work, so long as it's not unreasonably difficult or expensive for them. Legally, when you tell your employer, that knowledge cannot be shared with others. Realistically, however, there's no way to be certain this won't happen anyway. If your employer has an HR department, you'd want to inform them about your need for accommodations. They would get the information they need from you and then let your manager know what accommodations the company is giving you. The manager is likely to not even know what the issue is this way. If you work for an employer who does not have an HR department, say a small independent business, you'll need to communicate with your manager. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I recommend that you communicate in writing so that you have proof of your side of the interactions. Email is great and may give you proof of their response. If not, I would suggest following up whatever discussion you have with an email or a written note, which summarizes your understanding of the discussion and the results. And make sure it has the date on it if it's not an email. Also, make sure you have any talks with your manager in a private location so that coworkers can't overhear. Protect your privacy. Now, you can choose to share with your coworkers, but as the saying goes, you can't unring a bell. Once you've told someone, they may share it with others without your permission. One reason to think this through carefully before disclosing your diagnosis is that people often have very incorrect beliefs about what DID is, thanks to the movies that make up fantastic things and dramatize aspects of this condition. Many people confuse DID with schizophrenia or psychosis. They also seem to confuse the condition with someone who's an axe murderer and dangerous. If you've been with your employer for some time, they may be less worried as they know you as someone who's reasonable and not crazy. Be prepared to teach them about DID and correct any misconceptions they have about it from media portrayals. Next week, I'm going to talk about a strategic way to approach telling your employer that may help you limit how much you have to share about your diagnosis.